What do you remember from shooting that final climax scene back in '97? Do you have any fun stories from it?
None whatsoever. Well, that was a nightmare. Taking your clothes off in front of 400 women, it's not something I would recommend to anyone at all. It was actually a very long sequence. That I think, if I remember, we shot it over about 2.5 days. In actual fact, it took to shoot that. And there was the people that were in the audience weren't background people. They weren't extras, as we used to call them back in the day, supporting artists. That they were kind of people from the community that had sort of come in. So they were expecting to see, the real deal. They were kind of waiting for this. So when the very first time we came on, of course, and the ties come off, they think the whole thing's going to happen. So this kind of expectation's kind of going, and then suddenly cut. They go, oh. So that happening over like 2.5 days of like the shirt comes off and the bit of the trousers come off. They got to the point where they thought this is never going to happen. So we only ever shot the entire strip once from cameras from the back, and we went all the way through. And that moment when the hats came off, it was like an earthquake. They just went insane because they'd been waiting for 2.5 days, for this, and it was a moment scarred for life.
It was shot over 2 days, I think, and I remember being told beforehand, "Don't worry, guys, it's a closed set." So what do you mean by that? Well, nobody who doesn't have to be there will be there. Okay, so who will be there? Well, the crew, an entire second unit crew that are in just for that scene, and 400 extras. How is that a closed set in any... Luckily, back in the day, nobody had mobile phones, so you were free from... Yeah. The indignity of anything leaking. That sounds worse than it was meant to, but no, it was quite arduous actually. Taking your clothes off, throwing them onto the floor in amongst the ashtrays and the spilt beer, and then picking them up, putting them all back on again. They were the same thing, right up to the point where those hats. We got down to the hat over and over and over, and there was one take in the deal with the directors, only one take where that hat finally goes, and that's the shot that finishes the movie. So I do still have nightmares sometimes.
It was. I remember it being. We were all very nervous. I think the very first time we did it, but by the end of it, after a few hours, we're just strolling around naked, and who cares anymore?